is one of the best, if not the best, defense going right now. I mean, they got multiple top end players. They got a great scheme. They play super hard. They're physical. They do everything really well. Offensive line, been around forever. Big physical offensive line. They got one of the best young backs. This guy looks legit. They got tight ends. They got an athletic rookie tight end. They got a veteran tight end who can make plays. They got one of the top receivers in Judy. They got players.
Somebody grabbed the popcorn because John Harbaugh just lit up Kevin Stefanski after Shedeur Sanders' NFL debut. And it was not subtle. I'm talking, did he really just say that on camera? Energy? Whatever happened on that field clearly triggered a coach-to-coach throwdown. And now fans are choosing sides like it's a season finale. Did Shedeur expose something? Did Stefanski poke the wrong bear? Oh, we're digging into the receipts.
Fans are going to go crazy Sunday with Shedeur. Do you have to kind of like harness his energy so he stays within the game?
I think he's always done a nice job of that. He's what we appreciate about all of our players is authenticity. He's the same guy every single day. Obviously on game day there's a juice that comes with that. There's an excitement that comes with that, but he's played that position for a long time. He knows how to make sure he keeps the main thing.
John Harbaugh didn't raise his voice. He didn't pound the table. He didn't even aim directly at anyone's name. And yet somehow, the entire Browns front office felt that comment land like a brick through a glass chandelier.
He performed yesterday. You don't even say his name. You won't commit to him being the quarterback next week, even though Dylan Gabriel is still in concussion protocol. Okay? Come on now. We got a right to sit up there and say 1 + 1 might equal 2. Might equal 2. I mean, damn.
If you're enjoying, please subscribe. Shedeur Sanders to the channel. It helps more than you think. One calm, measured explanation about how defenses prepare for backup quarterbacks. And suddenly the spotlight swung hard onto Kevin Stefanski in a situation in Cleveland that had been quietly rotting for months. The kind of rot you only notice once the ceiling starts to cave in.
Is it some hot water yet again? Now, we all seen what was displayed over the weekend when Shedeur Sanders went up to Las Vegas, got out of that city with the dub. At the conclusion of the game, we seen Kevin Stefanski hold the game ball in the air. And he pretty much said, well, you know what, Myles Garrett, this is for you. That is exactly what he did. Now, despite Shedeur Sanders being a rookie, despite Shedeur Sanders going up against all of the obstacles that he faced, because he damn sure faced a lot, Kevin Stefanski refused to give the game ball to Shedeur Sanders.
Because let's get one thing straight right away. What just happened with Shedeur Sanders wasn't bad luck. It wasn't unfortunate timing. It wasn't some unavoidable football accident. It was a slow-motion, organizational misstep that finally stumbled into daylight under national attention.
That Harbaugh pointed out that I think is important is this defense is a different animal when they're in Cleveland. I still can't make heads or tails of it about how it just doesn't travel, but when they're at home and feeding off of that energy, this defense is really, really good, and they're going to have to put out an amazing performance because the offense right now is just not doing much of anything. They're going to have to find a way to cause a few turnovers, maybe get a defensive touchdown, or get some short fields for the offense so that it makes it easier on.
And now everyone is pretending to be shocked by what they're seeing, even though the warning signs have been blinking since May. 6 months. 6 full months from draft night to that first snap, meetings, walkthroughs, film rooms, practice fields, install days, game plans. And in all that time, Shedeur never once took meaningful snaps with the first team offense. Not one real sequence with the actual starters. Not one stretch where timing could be built. Not one rehearsal for the exact emergency moment every NFL team plans for. Until suddenly, in Week 11, the emergency arrived, loud, chaotic, and completely unprepared. Dylan Gabriel goes down with a concussion. The offense flatlines. And now Stefanski is forced to do the very thing he spent half a year actively avoiding. He throws Shedeur into live fire with no rhythm, no chemistry, no shared language with the offensive line, and no muscle memory with the receivers. The football equivalent of tossing someone the keys to a race car. They've never practiced driving and hoping instinct does the rest. And somehow, some way, people were surprised it looked messy. The wildest part? That moment wasn't just Shedeur's first live NFL action. It was his very first real work with the starting unit. Not in camp, not in controlled practice periods, not even in watered-down situational reps. His introduction to the Browns' true offensive rhythm came under stadium lights. With a collapsing pocket and a season wobbling in the background, that's not development. That's improvisation bordering on negligence.
Let's talk about the Browns. Kevin Stefanski why do you do that? Why do you just come out and say, hey, this is cool?
I'm out. I'll tell you why.
Why don't you just say this is this first rookie since when to win their
1995 to win their debut for the Browns.
And I know he didn't go for 300 or whatever, and stats are tough. We're trying to find, it's hard to find all that, but still, at quarterback, the position, the vibe, to win a game like that, especially for Cleveland. Now, granted, he's saying a lot of things that people are like, relax. Okay, you need to relax. But that's not Shedeur. That is not what Shedeur is, which could be exactly what Cleveland Browns need, which is...
You want to talk about football realism instead of Madden theory for a second? In real football, reps are oxygen. Quarterbacking is timing, trust, and anticipation layered on top of arm talent. It's knowing where the receiver will be before he even turns his head. It's understanding how your center snaps under pressure, how your guard passes off stunts, how your running back prefers the mesh point. None of that comes from standing behind the clipboard for 6 months, watching someone else work. And yet, that's exactly what Cleveland did. Even at its most basic, every functional organization rotates at least a few backup reps with the starters. Helmets collide. Concussions happen. That's not pessimism, it's the literal job description. Preparation is the tax you pay for inevitability. But somewhere along the line, Stefanski decided that rule didn't apply to Shedeur. What he was really saying without ever pointing fingers was that the backup should already be equipped to run the same system. The scheme doesn't bend to the quarterback. The quarterback bends to the scheme, which immediately raises the obvious, uncomfortable question hanging over Cleveland like a thundercloud. Why wasn't Shedeur ready to bend?
Do that! We said Shedeur should have got the damn game ball. I never once, when I did that live immediately after the game, and said, you know what? I feel like Myles Garrett don't deserve the game ball. Everybody felt like he did, but at that exact moment, that day, he had a game where he had 5 sacks, bro. 5. That's worthy of a game ball. What Shedeur did, going up against, he should have got the game.
Because preparation wasn't offered. Not structurally. Not emotionally. Not competitively. He wasn't shaped into the offense. He wasn't integrated into the timing. He wasn't gradually seasoned into game speed chemistry. He was preserved on ice until the freezer door broke. And when that happened, outrage finally spilled out from every direction at once. Coach Prime didn't sound like a football celebrity reacting to a news cycle. He sounded like a father watching 6 months of quiet damage suddenly surface in one violent reveal. His frustration wasn't flashy. It was weary. The kind of anger that simmers after patience gets used up, after the rhetoric about development rings hollow. It was about a slow erosion of confidence before Shedeur ever had a chance to build it in the first place. A quarterback's mental foundation is everything. Once that cracks, the physical tools don't matter nearly as much. And watching his son finally step into a moment he had been structurally denied for months didn't feel like a breakthrough. It felt like a rescue attempt that came too late. Then Shannon Sharpe lit the rest of the building on fire. 4 minutes of unfiltered disbelief. No theater. No hedging. Just a blunt assessment that what happened bordered on professional malpractice. Not as a hot take word. As a literal description of what it looks like. Someone with a duty of preparation simply doesn't fulfill it.
It ain't never been about Dylan Gabriel and what he gonna play like. This has control all over it. And they are fighting for control of who is on the last man on the boat, because that Titanic is sinking. And the problem for Kevin Stefanski is, it looks like the deck is stacked a little bit. You don't have control of the playbook anymore. You don't have control of basically who gets traded and guys moving in and out, or you would never move from flat.
He broke it down the way only someone who lived it could. Even when legends ran the show, backups still touched the wheel. Even when a QB1 owned the city, the backup still took a breath of first-team air during practice. Not because anyone doubted the starter, but because the entire roster deserved insurance against the unpredictable violence of football. In Cleveland, that insurance policy was never written. So when Gabriel fell and Shedeur entered, what followed wasn't just uneven execution, it was structural chaos. Protections weren't synchronized. Hot reads weren't instinctive. The line didn't respond to adjustments because those adjustments had never been rehearsed with that voice at the helm. On one play, 3 linemen collapsed on a single rusher while another came screaming through untouched, exactly the kind of breakdown that happens when trust hasn't been built between quarterback and line. And then people ask why the quarterback didn't play well? The conversation keeps circling back to production, as if raw output explains preparation. As if you can judge a pilot by how smoothly he lands on his very first flight with no simulator, training and half the instruments mislabeled. Real football doesn't work like that. Timing isn't optional. Chemistry isn't cosmetic. It's the engine oil that keeps the entire mechanism from grinding itself into smoke.
Not from you, but all your supporters out there say that Kevin Stefanski was sabotaging you.
So you just want to start trouble, huh?
No, I want to ask you what your relationship with him is.
Yeah, well, what people do outside the building isn't really in my control. It's not in my power, so I don't. Yeah, like I go out there and tell them to do whatever. You know, that's not nothing I can control or nothing I could do. But overall, you know, I'm just happy to be here.
And Shedeur was asked to run a machine he'd only observed from behind the glass. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the political undercurrents only made the water murkier. Different representation. Different lanes of influence? A head coach whose future appears tied to the success of the initial starter. A front office invested in justifying earlier decisions rather than safeguarding later ones. It all starts to look less like development and more like quiet strategic commitment to one storyline at the expense of another. And even if you fully believe Dylan Gabriel is the better quarterback, even if you think he should start every healthy week without debate, that still doesn't justify freezing out the backup's preparation entirely. That's where the mental damage Prime talked about begins to make uncomfortable sense. When a player spends months in an environment that doesn't invest in his growth, doesn't actively include him in the functional bloodstream of the offense, that absence isn't neutral. It communicates something. It creates doubt. It chips at belonging. It teaches a player silently that he exists only in theory, not in practice. And quarterbacks, more than any other position, feel that signal acutely. Confidence in that role isn't built by pep talks. It's built by repetition, by shared failure and practice.
It ain't never been about Dylan Gabriel and what he gonna play like. This has control all over it. And they are fighting for control of who is on the last man on the boat, because that Titanic is sinking. And the problem for Kevin Stefanski is, it looks like the deck is stacked a little bit. You don't have control of the playbook anymore. You don't have control of basically who gets traded and guys moving in and out, or you would never move from Flacco. And let me tell you this, if Dylan Gabriel comes out here and looks bad against the Ravens,
by correcting timing errors at half speed, by learning exactly how much arc your receiver needs on his breaks, take that away and you don't just stall development, you distort it. Yet despite all of this, despite the lack of structural support, despite being thrown into a live game mid-season without warm-up context, Shedeur still flashed talent. The arm strength didn't disappear. The poise didn't vanish. That alone tells you everything you need to know about his baseline potential. What's missing isn't ability. It's architecture. Now the plot thickens even further. Gabriel's concussion pushes the storyline into a high-stakes crossroads. Because if he can't clear protocol, Cleveland is suddenly forced into a scenario they avoided for half a year. A full practice week built around Shedeur, first-team reps by necessity, real timing installation, protection meetings, game plan tailoring. The very thing that should have been happening in slow, controlled doses since May will now arrive all at once under pressure. And if Shedeur performs well with a real week of preparation, every uncomfortable question Stefanski has been dodging comes roaring back with compound interest. Why wasn't this done earlier? Why did it require injury to unlock basic development? Why was the depth chart treated like a glass museum display instead of a working system of contingency? If he
Something bothers me. Watching the post-game speech after Shedeur Sanders gets his first NFL victory as a rookie, I see his teammates, how they are on the sideline. I never believed that they were trying to hold Shedeur back. But the coach is in the locker room giving out game balls. And Kevin Stefanski just kind of throws something towards Shedeur.
Another rookie making his first start. Nice job, Shedeur. Well done.
That's a red light. Give him his flowers right here.
Browns record, Myles Garrett. Come on, man.
If he struggles, the narrative will still be unfair. Because even with a week, he'll be operating at a massive deficit compared to quarterbacks who've been synchronized with their units for months. Either way, the coaching staff's earlier neglect will be impossible to ignore. Stepping back, this isn't just a Browns story. This is the NFL's recurring sign on repeat. Young quarterbacks thrown into unstable ecosystems and then blamed for the consequences of institutional impatience. The league loves the idea of development. It just rarely funds it with time. History is littered with cautionary tales. So when Shedeur walked into that building, he didn't walk into neutral ground. He entered a laboratory known for failed experiments. The most damning part is how avoidable all of this was. Nobody demanded Shedeur start immediately. Nobody asked for controversy at QB1. All that was required was standard preparation, standard developmental reps, standard organizational competence. And somehow even that baseline wasn't met. Now the league has noticed. Harbaugh's subtle framing peeled back the curtain without theatrics. Prime's emotion put a human face on the fallout. Shannon Sharpe stripped off the remaining cover by calling it what it looked like through a professional lens. An unforced error of process. Nothing about this saga feels accidental anymore. It feels chosen.
So my messaging to Kevin Stefanski and the organization would be this. Don't put a safety capsule around Shedeur over this last stretch of games. Tell Shedeur, listen, I want you to be aggressive. I want you to go out there and test your limits and figure out what you can and can't do.
So now the question shifts from what happened to what comes next. If Cleveland gives Shedeur real practice access, and he thrives, it will validate every criticism that preparation was the missing ingredient all along. If they retreat the moment Gabriel returns, and reset Shedeur to the shadows, the message will be even louder than before. And if the organization stays frozen between those two lanes, the pressure surrounding the signal caller will only intensify, because quarterbacks don't just develop in silence, they develop in ecosystems. And Cleveland's ecosystem right now is unstable at best, indifferent at worst. The irony in all of this is that John Harbaugh never had to call anyone out directly. If your backup steps in and looks unprepared, that failure starts long before the injury. It starts in May. It starts in who gets reps. It starts in whether the organization truly believes depth matters or just pretends to during press conferences. And right now, Cleveland's answers to those questions don't inspire confidence. Shedeur Sanders didn't ask to become a symbol of institutional dysfunction. He was supposed to be a developmental prospect tucked into the system with patience. Instead, he became a live demonstration of what happens when development becomes performative rather than procedural.
He can't relate to black players. Cultured black players. This coach done been in the league since 2005. That's 20 years. And you only coached 3 players that I deem is cultured. It's abundantly clear that you don't want to see Shedeur Sanders win. He's not like Kirk Cousins. He's not like Dylan Gabriel. When he comes in for the first down and he does that, it's not a distraction, bro. You got to understand that. I don't think Kevin Stefanski.
Yet even now, the story is still unwritten. A full week of true preparation could shift everything. Real chemistry, real rhythm, real trust. Those things don't guarantee success, but they at least give it a fighting chance. And if that chance finally arrives, the league will get its first honest look at what Shedeur actually is, when the ground beneath him isn't actively disappearing. Until then, Cleveland sits under a microscope they created themselves. Every practice rep now carries moral weight. Harbaugh's words cracked the door. Prime's reaction blew it wider. Sharpe's indictment kicked the hinges loose. And now, the spotlight is fully on Kevin Stefanski. The only mystery left is whether the organization finally adapts, or whether Shedeur's true future lies somewhere far away from the shores of Lake Erie. Because one thing is already clear without a single direct quote being necessary. This situation is no longer quiet. It's no longer speculation. It's an open audit of how Cleveland handles the most fragile asset in all of football. And right now, the ledger does not look kind.